Hey, welcome back, or welcome if you are new to my channel. Today I was planning on going through the Warcraft III Reign of Chaos Battlechest booklet. You might have seen in my recent future video projects haul that I got these fantastic little booklets, but that I thought they would be full size, like the World of Warcraft ones are. This is something that I hope will be really nostalgic to some of you. I talked in that video I mentioned about not playing Warcraft 3 during my childhood, but that I used to play a little bit later during the years the Warlocks game mode, and I really enjoyed doing that with friends. It was very, very fun. I hope you will enjoy this video. So sit back and relax. Thank you. This booklet is so small that I brought out once again my mousepad from World of Warcraft, because if I would have used a white background with this little booklet, it would be way too bright. The official Battlechest guide for Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos by Games. Here we have the contents: Tech Trees, Human Campaign, The Scourge of Lordaeron, Undead Campaign, Path of the Damned, Orc Campaign, The Invasion of Kalimdor, and the Nine Elf Campaign, Eternity's End, and some tactics. The Human Tech Tree. All the different buildings and what they do. Human truism. Here are a few thoughts to consider when playing Alliance. Humans have a unique ability to put more than one peasant on a structure that's being built. The lengthy construction time for a town hall can be expedited considerably by putting 4 peasants on it at once. Of course, you will incur an extra gold and lumber cost when you employ this technique. Call to arms is a great way to quickly increase the defensive ability of your base. If the enemy attacks an undefeated base, using this ability in the town hall instantly gives your militia fighters that can hold off the enemy long enough for your main force to save the day. Archmage mass teleport ability is an excellent way to instantly drop an attack force right in the middle of an enemy base. The only difficulty with this tactic is that you must have a ground unit in the area where you want to teleport. If you use the sorcerer's invisibility, you can run a cloak unit into the enemy's base and then cast mass teleport, instant surprise attack. To set up a quick defensive perimeter, form 2 groups of 4 peasants and have them work together at building guard towers. Assuming the resources are available for this, a strong defensive perimeter of guard towers can be constructed quickly in this way. Steam tanks destroy enemy structures with great efficiency, so use them in group of 3 or 4 as a secondary attack wave behind your melee units. Undead Tech Tree. Here are a few thoughts to consider when playing as the Scorched. Remember that critter carcasses can also be used by your necromancers for raised stat. One critter body gives a necromancer 2 skeleton warriors. Use meat wagons to carry bodies to the battlefield for your necromancers. This supplies them with a load of carcasses to raise into skeleton warriors. In battle, keep the necromancers safe behind the front lines and play raised stat on autocast. This ensures that plenty of skeleton warriors will join your cause as the battle proceeds. The Undead's ability to haunt remote gold mines without having to build a primary building nearby gives them a distinct advantage when it comes to harvesting this precious resource. When moving around the map to capture gold mines, take an Oculot along with your attack group so they can summon haunt gold mine and after the creeps or enemies have been destroyed. Because undead structures are summoned and not built, you can save plenty of resources and food by creating only as many Oculoids as needed to collect gold. Technically, you need just one Oculot to summon an entire base. The Death Knight's Unholy Aura is important to the success of the undead. Like the Orcs and Taurens aura, Unholy Aura also increases movement speed. But the real bonus comes in hit points regenerations. At level 3, hit points regenerate at a rate of 150%, which means less money spent on replacement units. Orc Tech Tree. Here are a few thoughts to consider when playing as the Horde. It's possible to use Orc Burrow as an offensive weapon, because the peons that build them can immediately enter the burrow and attack the enemy. These structures are often constructed in or near enemy bases. Intersperse Orc burrows around your base. When the enemy attack, have your peons immediately get inside the burrows, both to protect themselves and also defend the base. Once laden with peons, burrows are very effective at defense. When attacking an enemy base, the Farseer's Earthquake is a very powerful spell that can destroy their food supply in one fell swoop. Use it to level food product structures, rendering your foe unable to build new units. The Farseer's Chain Lightning is an excellent weapon to use on wisps, peons, peasants and oculoids. When upgraded to level 3, one cast of Chain Lightning can simultaneously fry 4 or 5 of these units. Always take advantage of auras such as the Tauren Chieftain's Endurance aura, which increases both the movement speed and the attack punch of orc units. Use these spiked barricades upgrades. They are like a Thorn's aura for the orc buildings. When the enemy hits them, the attacker takes damage too. Always research the pillage upgrade, because even if orcs have depleted their resources, they can always attack an enemy building to increase their haul. This comes in handy when you're short on funds in a tight game and need a small amounts of gold or lumber to build an important unit or structure, like reviving a slain hero. By attacking an enemy building, you may also be able to recover the necessary resources you need. And the Night Elf Tech Tree, Night Elf Treeism. Here are a few thoughts to consider when playing as the Sentinels. Use the mobility of the Ancients, such as the Tree of Life, the Ancient Protector, the Ancient of Lore, and the Ancient of War, to relocate your base whenever necessary. The end result of this is a considerable saving in resources, because it eliminates the need to rebuild key structures. Whenever your base is undefeated and the enemy attacks, uproot your ancients to fight your foes until reinforcements arrive. Every moon well can replenish both health and mana. This ability, however, is by default turned off We recommend turning the autocast feature on so that your units will always be healed whenever they are near a moonwell. This is very important when actively defending your base. The extra health and mana received from moonwells can certainly turn the tide of battle. Many of the night elf units have the ability to be hidden from the enemy during the night when stationary. Use this to your advantage to set up ambushes in the well-traversed areas of the map or near your base. It is also a good idea to camp near an enemy base, then hit their base with your hidden night elves when the enemy attack force leaves. The Keeper of the Grove's Tranquility is one of the most powerful spells in the game. It can heal an entire group of units to the tune of 20 hit points per second. When used in the middle of a battle, it can make all the difference. Wisps can harvest lumber from any tree or form at any location on the map. Sending a wisp out to harvest lumber in a remote location is not only supplies you with this resource, but also provides an early warning system of sorts. Enemies often move past a single wisp in a tree without noticing it. Wisps do not need to be near a tree of life to harvest lumber, so they can be placed anywhere. Human Campaign, the Scourge of Lordaeron. Warcraft III, Reign of Chaos begins with the familiar, the Human Campaign. These initial chapters of the single-player game will ease you into the new features, fresh concepts, and latest eccentricities, while drawing you ever deeper into the unfolding storyline. This section of the guide provides walkthroughs for each mission chapter, including special tips, notes, and warnings whenever necessary. We are not going through each mission, it will take forever. Chapter 1: The Defense of Strombrad. Despite the barrage of plague rumors and mounting political tensions, recent orc upsprings in the southern Lordaeron have forced the Alliance High Command to take decisive measures. To contain the remaining orcish threat, the Alliance has sent two of its greatest paladins, the legendary Uther Lightbringer and Arthas, the young Prince of Lordaeron, to drive the raiders back and ascertain the extent of the remaining orc forces. Chapter 2: Black Rock and Roll. Shortly after your victory in Strombrad, Arthas reconvenes at Uther's camp. The great paladin has sent two of his best knights to parley with the orc leader, the Blade Master. But when two knight horses return without their masters, Uther requests that you, Arthas, lead the attack on the orcish encampment. Chapter 3: Ravages of the Plague. Arthas and his men waits near a crossroads to meet with archmate named Jaina. She appears, albeit late, and says that the villages along the king's roads must be explored to discover the origins of the plague. Jaina joins you on this mission, bringing along her ability to summon water elementals. Chapter 4: The Cult of the Damned. The next day, Jaina and Arthas see cultist Aguloids starting to hunt a gold mine on the outskirts of Andorhal. As a camp is being set up nearby, Kel'Thuzad shows up with a group of ghouls and attacks Jaina. Arthas tries to rescue her, but it's too late. Jaina's dead. Chapter 5: March of the Scourge. Early the next morning, Arthas and Jaina moved to Hearthglen and warned the town of the coming undead forces. Arthas learns that the plague is being distributed in the grain when suddenly the villagers of Hearthglen become undead and battle ensues. You must survive for 30 minutes. Chapter 6. The Culling. The prophet meets with Arthas to tell him that the land is lost, and nothing Arthas can do will detect it. The prophet adds that he must also flee across the sea to the west, but Arthas refuses. The prophet warns that the harder Arthas tries to save his homeland from the undead, the more successful will the undead become. The next morning, Uther shows up on the outskirts of Stratholm. Arthas informs him that Stratholm must be purged. Uther challenges him. Then Arthas relieves Uther of his command. Jaina and Uther leaves as Arthas begins to kill all the villagers. Chapter 7. The Shores of Northrend. 1 month later, along the icy coast of Dagger Campaign, Arthas is setting up a base camp to defend against Mal'Ganis and his undead forces. After a brief exploration, Arthas finds Muradin Bronzebeard. Together with his new ally, there may still be hope. Chapter 8. Dissension. And the emissary arrives early the next morning as Arthas' new base camp. He informs that the captain, the Lord Uther, has convicted Arthas' father to recall the troops. Arthas is not happy with this decision and decides that the 5 ships must be burned down to their frames, thus preventing troops from following the king's orders to return. Arthas' forces will have no force but to help him attempt to defeat Mal'Ganis. Chapter 9. Frostmourne. The next day, Muradin scolds Arthas for betraying his own men. Then Mal'Ganis shows up and announces that the journey is over, as he completely surrounds Arthas and his camp. Arthas asks Muradin to help him claim Frostmourne, but he feels that his runeblade might be enough to tilt the scales in the humans' favors. Undead Campaign, Path of the Damned. The time has come to take the reins of another race. Arthas has turned to the undead. You now control him as a Death Knight, a dark warrior with spectral powers that can heal units and raise the dead. The Undead Campaign begins with a pair of manageable missions, but the difficulty ramps up quickly as you progress. Chapter 1. Trudging through the ashes. The Lich King's plague of undeath has spread through the capital city and into the outskirts of Lordaeron. Shocked and disheartened by the loss of their belonging, the forces of Lordaeron were scattered by the ravenous forces. Now the acolytes must be brought to Tigondrius. Chapter 2. Digging up the dead. The next morning, on the outskirts of Andorhal, Arthas learns that he must kill the paladin guard protecting Kel'Thuzad's tomb. Then use a meat wagon to gather up the remains of the deceased necromancer and bring them back to be bring them back to be reanimated. Chapter 3. Into the Realm Eternal. 6 days later, near the forested borderlands of Quel'Thalas, Kel'Thuzad warns Arthas of certain elven attacks. He suggests using a great caution in this area. Chapter 4. Key of the Three Moons. Moments later, just beyond the scattered elf gate, Sylvanas Windrunner informs Arthas that he will never get through the second elf gate on account of a special key that is required. To do so, Sylvanas then destroys the bridge that Arthas was about to cross. Chapter 5. The Fall of Silvermoon. Moments later, on the outskirts of the Elven's capital of Silvermoon, Tichondrius appears and advises Arthas that the Sunwell is a difficult prize. Arthas argues that he can still achieve it. Chapter 6. Black Rock and Roll 2. On the outskirts of the Blackrock camp, Arthas meets Kel'Thuzad. He learns that the Blackrock orcs maintains a functional demon gate. They must be destroyed. Chapter 7. The Siege of Dalaran. The next morning, at the gates of Dalaran, Arthas and Kel'Thuzad demands that the wizards open the doors before them. Antonidas informs Arthas that they have prepared auras that will kill the undead if they try to pass. Chapter 8. Under the Burning Sky. An hour later, on a hill overlooking Dalaran, Arthas has readied the circle of power for Kel'Thuzad to perform the summoning. Tichondrius arrives and the ritual commences. Kel'Thuzad must survive for 30 minutes during the summoning of Archimonde. Orc Campaign. The Invasion of Kalimdor. The time has come to revisit the other familiar Warcraft race, the Orcs. The Horde has some new units and their heroes have some of the best spells in the game, so prepare for some exciting battles. Chapter 1. Landfall. Following the mysterious prophet's instructions, Thrall led the Horde across the Great Sea. After weeks of traversing the raging seas, the Orcish Horde arrived on the savage shores of Kalimdor. With their stolen ships broken and drowned, the Orcs cautionally venture inland, wary of the unseen dangers lurking within the crags of the desolate land. Chapter 2. The Long March. 2 days later, while on the desolate plains of the Barrens, Thrall tells Kain that he appreciates his surroundings. Thrall agrees to help Kain make it to the 3 oases in the Barrens. Chapter 3. Cry of the Warsong. 5 days later, near the foothills of the Stone Talon Mountains, Thrall troops complains of boredom. Just then, they run into the Warsong clan fighting the humans. Chapter 4. The Spirits of Ashenvale. 2 days later, along the borderlands of the Ashenvale forest, Grom Hellscream is upset that he has been set to the task of clearing the forest for lumber. Grom's grunts feel that the forest is haunted, but Grom pushes them clear of the forest all the quicker. Chapter 5. The Hunter of Shadows. The next morning in the shadowed woods of Ashenvale, the trees in the forest come to life and attack the Orc settlements. Cenarius, the keeper of the grove, a night elf hero, is attempting to disrupt Orc efforts, and it's up to Grom Hellscream's troops to stop him. Chapter 6. Where Wyverns Stare. In the base at Stone Talon Peak, an Orc scout informs Thrall that the humans have increased their defenses. Cain Bloodwolf shows up to repay their debt to you with blood. They want to help you reach the Oracle. Chapter 7. The Oracle. The path splits inside the caverns of Stone Talon Peak. Cain goes in one direction, while Thrall goes in another, in search of the Oracle. Chapter 8. By Demons Be Driven. 3 days later, near the edge of the Barrens, Cain Bloodwolf meets Xena and Thrall. It becomes clear that they need to capture Grom Hellscream's soul inside a soul gem and return it to Jaina's ritual circle. Night Elf Campaign, Eternity's End. The Night Elves are the other new races to set foot in the realm of Warcraft. Their unique symbiotic relationship with nature means they have many unique abilities, not the least of which is an unlimited supply of lumber. This is the final segment in the single-player saga. Chapter 1. Enemies at the Gate. With the heroic sacrifice of Grom Hellscream, the Pit Lord Manoroth was slain, and the demon's curse that has plagued the Orcs was put to rest. However, the combined human and Orc forces have moved deeper into Ashenvale Forest to ascertain whether a demonic threat still lingers in on the land. Tyrone the Whispering, the leader of the Night Elf Sentinels, believes that the Outlanders was to only bring doom to her enchanted homeland. Chapter 2. Daughters of the Moon. 3 hours later, somewhere in the foothills of Mount Hyjal, the Condrios and Archimond meet Tyrone the Whisperwind in an attempt to kill her. She hides, forcing them to believe she has disappeared. This gives Tyrone a chance to warn her kin. Chapter 3. The Awakening of Stormrage. The next day, near the outskirts of the sacred Moonglade, Tyrande advises that the Night Elves must recover the sacred horn. She also tells of Fury and Stormrage, a druid that must be awakened by his people before destroyed by the undead. Chapter 4. The Druids Arise. 2 days later, in the Winterspring Valley, Tyrande meets Fury and Stormrage. Tyrande informs Fury that his awakening occurred because there are urgent matters. Tyrande further explains that the Burning Legion has returned, and Archimons will attempt to attack the World Tree. Chapter 5. Brothers in Blood. The next morning, with the subterranean barrow deeps of Mount Hyjal, Furion and Tyrande arrive to find and awaken the Druid of the Claw. Chapter 6. A Destiny of Flame and Sorrow. The following evening, deep in the corrupted forest of Wildwood, Illidan is still bitter. Arthas approaches him and they fight head to head. Ultimately, it's clear that no one will win. Arthas asks Illidan to capture the skull of Gul'dan and destroy it. Archimon's Ascent. The next morning, near Hyjal summit, the Night Elves, Orcs and humans gather to plan their defense of the mountain against the final assault of Archimon's forces. Some general tactics about fighting creeps, upgrading heroes, match abilities with needs, defense tactics, general, undead, and importance of critters. Some more building control, know when to retreat, learn your hotkeys, don't expand too early. Concentrated fire, use your heroes, prevent expansion, human advantage. Multiplayer tactics. And about the publishers. Hopefully these videos will be a little bit quicker since they are not too big. These very small booklets. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was very fun to make, very nostalgic, very